Hey everyone, I am reading Flowers in December, the Trilogy by Suen, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Beds. Book 1, Flowers in December. Chapter 1. Connor closed the door behind him. He had been dreading this moment. He stood immobilized. He saw her coffin across the room, yet he couldn't move. After a long time, he finally took his first step. Reaching her open casket, his throat tightened as he gazed upon her face. He searched in vain for familiarity and warmth, but he found only the harshness of rigidity and coldness. His eyes misted, blurring his view. He stepped back as tears welled up and streamed down his face. A droplet fell, and then another as his tears turned into a torrent. No longer caring who would hear him, he released his sobs and wailed into the silent walls as if they could comfort him. Connor knelt in front of the coffin and whispered her name. First he spoke softly and gently, between sobs racked with pain. Then he shouted her name, over and over, as if he could bring her back. He lost track of time. Eventually his sobs subsided. Chapter 2. Connor lay crumpled next to her coffin, not willing to get up just yet, not ready to leave. He let his mind wander, thinking about his mother, himself as a little boy. This was the one time, the one trip Connor had never wanted to take. It was a long drive across the state. He had traveled for miles and miles without seeing a gas station, without seeing a mile marker. As the city faded behind him and he drove further and further away, Connor felt a new sense of freedom. He opened his sunroof, basked in the warm rays of the sun, felt the rush of the wind, and smelled the fresh air, and turned into nature. His worries and burdens were swept away with the wind. The further away he got from the city, the better he felt. The vastness of this land, the beauty of it, stirred something deep inside of him. He had escaped the four solid walls of his office with his coveted window, the office he had worked so hard to attain, and that he was now imprisoned in. Long hours, day after day, with little time for fun. When Connor had first received the call about his mother, he felt a twinge of guilt, knowing that he hadn't visited as often as he should have. Her death was sudden and unexpected. The last time he went home was over the holidays last year. His family was small, just 3 of them. Him, his mom and dad. He didn't have kids, wasn't married. His parents had long stopped asking the question. His father had passed first. Now it was his mother. He was the only one left. Images from long ago appeared, unbidden yet not unwelcome. The time she had surprised him with a birthday party and a pony ride. He had pestered her for this, but she had been cautious. He wanted what every little boy wanted, and he thought that a pony ride was just the thing. As a little boy, he had been fearless. He did crazy things just to see if he could. Do first and ask later was his motto. When his parents had found out, he got plenty of whippings for his mischief. He had grown up in the small town. He knew his parents were disappointed that he didn't stay, that he left like so many of the kids before him, packing up his bag as soon as he graduated high school and heading to the big shining city. He got a little scholarship at the community college and worked hard to get established with solid academics. After 2 years, he transferred to the state college. Connor had immersed himself in his studies. The thought of crawling back to his hometown and admitting failure drove him harder each time things got tough. During a particularly rough semester, he seriously thought about throwing in the towel. He even told himself he was meant to live out his life in the little town of Rocky Flats, doing what every generation of the Nortons had done. Maybe he was meant to inherit his family's little hardware store and live out his life there. No, he was determined to get away. Now, 20 years later, he was going home at age 38. He had achieved success and climbed the corporate ladder. He remembered his mom on his last visit straightening his shirt. Connor, you know you have more clothes at home. You can come and get them any time. Mom, I know you want me to wear them, but they are out of style. I have to buy new shirts and suits every year. He paused. I rotate my shirts and suits and take them to the donation center. I have to dress a certain way. The styles will come back. They always do, you know. Yes, Mom, I know. You're my pride and joy. Always remember this. She kissed him on the cheek and tugged lovingly at the corner of his shirt collar. That was the last time he saw her. Chapter 3. Connor straightened his clothes and studied himself as he got up from the floor. Dale was waiting in a fancy red chair in the parlor when Connor walked out, and he immediately stood up. "Mr. Williams, first I want to thank you. I don't know what I would have done at a time like this," Connor said. "No worries. That is what we do here." He paused. "Do you have any questions or concerns?" "As a matter of fact, I do," Connor said. "My mother, I have a beautiful new dress for her and her favorite pearls to go with it." He wanted her to look her best one last time. "Is that what you want for her viewing tomorrow?" "Yes, I'd like for her to wear this dress and the pearls for her viewing and the burial." He turned toward the door. "I have it in my car now. I'll bring it in." "Of course." Connor went to the car and came back with a shopping bag. "I can't tell you how much I appreciate this." "I do want to mention a detail about the flowers," Dale said. "We ordered a mixed flower arrangement, but we found out that one of the flowers is in short supply." He stopped and continued. "The florist has offered to upgrade to another arrangement. Perhaps you can select something that suits your mother and pick out her favorite colors for flowers." "I'd like that." "Good. The flower shop is across the street. You won't miss it." "Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow." Chapter 4. Connor remembered seeing the flower shop when he drove into town. As a kid, he used to save his money to buy candy at the store next to it. He had no need to buy flowers, until now. He pressed his nose against the window and peered in, imagining that he could smell the flowers. A pleasant chime sounded when Connor opened the door. The aroma of fresh flowers and the splash of bright colors greeted him. Glancing around, he didn't immediately see anyone in the shop. Every space in the small store was smartly utilized in an attractive and efficient layout. "Hello?" a faint voice called from the back of the store. "I'll be with you in a minute." "Take your time. I'll just be looking." A petite brunette walked out a few minutes later. "Hi, I'm Mary Ann. Can I help you?" She was short, reaching only to the top of his shoulders. He smiled at her. "Yes, I'm Connor Norton." "You're Connor Norton?" she said. "I was just about to call the funeral home to discuss some alternatives for your mother's arrangement." "Your timing is perfect. I just came from there. Dale told me there was a shortage with flowers. I'm here to discuss other options with you." "I'm glad you came. Please follow me, and I'll show you what we have." She took him to the back of the store and showed him the arrangements she was working on. "My mother's favorite color is white," Connor said. "I'd like to see what flowers you have in that color." Dale wasn't sure what colors to use, so I'd extra ordered several varieties of seasonal white flowers. "Here's what may work." Marianne reached in the floral refrigerator and picked a selection of white flowers. She paused. "I don't have any lilies. I'm cautious about using them ever since a customer's cat almost died from lily poisoning. It doesn't take much to be potentially fatal. Small ingestions of any part of the lily plant or pollen, even drinking the water from the vase." "I didn't know lilies are so deadly. I've heard certain plants and foods are toxic to cats." She made a new arrangement and tied it together with blue and white lace ribbons. "What do you think?" Connor studied the arrangement. He nodded. "I think she would be very pleased." "That's wonderful." Marianne's face lit up. She was eager to get back to work. "I'll add these flowers to the other arrangement, the wreath and the table centerpiece." She looked up at him. "Would you like to come back later to look at them?" Connor pulled out his cell phone to check the time. "I've got a few more stops to make, but I can come back later. Maybe when you close?" "That's fine. We close at 5, but I'm usually still here in the back till 6 or 7. I'll keep an eye out for you," Marianne said. "I'll put the close sign on the door, but I won't lock it. You can come in. I'll listen for the bell." "Great. I'll stop by later." Chapter 5. Connor walked out and closed the door, then headed for Mr. Monroe's office. Rocky Flats was a one-lawyer town, and Mr. Monroe did legal business for everybody. His office was prominently located in the middle of town, right next to the bank. Connor always thought Mr. Monroe situated his office there so he wouldn't have far to walk each time he deposited the money he collected from his clients in town. He opened the door. A woman in her 50s sat behind the desk, dressed in a severe business suit. Black-rimmed glasses perched on her nose. A slight lifting of her right eyebrow was the only sign of welcome. "Yes?" "Hi, I'm Connor Norton. I have an appointment to see Mr. Monroe." "Oh, yes, Mr. Monroe is expecting you," she said as she reached for her desk phone. "I'll tell him you're here." "Thank you." A minute later, the door opened and Mr. Monroe himself came out. The lawyer had known the Norton family for many years and done business with Connor's father. He shook Connor's hand with enthusiasm. "Good to see you. Please come in." He ushered Connor into his office, nodding to his secretary. "I've been expecting you," he said. "Hello, Mr. Monroe. I just got back in town. I'm very sorry to hear about your mom. My deepest condolences." "Thank you. I know this has come all of a sudden. We have some business to attend to. Papers to sign," said Mr. Monroe as he pulled a folder of documents from his drawer desk. "You have my full attention," said Connor, sitting straight up. In the brown leather chair, he felt the unforgiving stiffness of the chair and squirmed, wishing he could sink into a soft, cushioned seat before getting to business. The discomfort of the chair was nothing compared to what he was feeling inside. He wasn't ready to sign off on any big decisions now, even if Mr. Monroe insisted. An hour later, Connor was back out and walking in the street. He turned toward the church. It was always open, a sanctuary welcoming all. "Pastor Maller," he called as he went into the church. "Oh, Connor," said the pastor warmly. "How are you?" "I'm fine," said Connor. "I'm sorry to trouble you, but I wonder if you'd say a prayer with me for my mother." "Of course, please come in. I just left the funeral home and the flower shop. Is there anything else we need to discuss before the service?" "Well, there's the matter of the music. Does your mother have a favorite song?" "Oh, that's easy. Climb Every Mountain was my mother's favorite." "I happen to have that music," the pastor said with a twinkle in his eyes. "I can ask my daughter to sing the song if you'd like." "Oh, that'll be wonderful. Please ask her." "I'm sure she'll do it. She's sang this with your mom and knows the song well." "My mother would absolutely love that," Connor breathed a sigh of relief. He had not thought of the music for the funeral service and was glad the pastor had brought it up. "Could we pray together for my mother now? I'd like that." The pastor nodded as he started the prayer. Chapter 6. Walking back outside into the brightness of the day, Connor welcomed the afternoon sun. He raised his head, wanting the rays to penetrate deep down, awakening the parts of him dwelling in the darkness. The day so far had been somber and filled with sorrow. He needed to grieve, and he knew there would be days and days ahead when he would mourn his mother. For now he closed his eyes and turned his face toward the sun, basking in the sunshine. He thought he felt the gentle touch of God for a moment. Connor checked the time on his cell phone. It was 4:30. He had another stop to make at the hardware store. "Hey, Ron," Connor called to the guy, loading bags of mulch into the back of a customer's pickup. He had known Ron since Rocky Flax Elementary School. Ron turned and, recognizing Connor, shouted, "Hey, man, you're back!" Connor reached his friend quickly with long strides and patted him on the back. "Glad to see you out here working so hard." "Shucks, man, you should have seen the last load," he said with a chuckle. "You just got in?" "Yep, I'll be staying at the house to get things in order." "So how long are you planning on staying?" "About 3 weeks. If I get done earlier, I may go back earlier." "Stay for a bit if you can. We haven't seen much of you," Ron said with a grin, adding, "even if you get done earlier." "We'll see about that. I've got a lot of work to do back at the office." "See you around then," said Ron. Then he turned serious. "You know, we are closing the store tomorrow out of respect for your mother." "Thanks, man. This means a lot. You can't imagine how much it means to me. Your parents were kind to me. Your dad sold me the business after I'd worked for him for over 10 years. "Yes, I know. I thought I could do it all, but I didn't know how much was involved in a business." He shook his head. "Don't get me wrong. I love the work, but it's a little more than I can handle." "So what are you thinking of doing?" "Well, I've been thinking about getting a partner and then expanding your father's old hardware business." "Expanding?" "Yep. Adding an outdoor section with lawnmowers, furniture, and chainsaws, a garden center with plants and more. Maybe some guns and ammo. I'm also thinking about expanding the kitchenwares and adding more appliances." "Sounds interesting. My mom would have liked the kitchen gadgets and appliances, but guns and ammo? I really don't see the need in the peaceful town." Ron cleared his throat. "We can talk about it. I know you just got in town, but let me put it out to you now. I want to make this offer to you first. Partners, 50-50. It feels like it's the right thing to do." "I appreciate this. I'd like to think it over. When do you need my answer?" "I'll need to know by the end of the year, so don't take too long." Connor nodded. "Thanks." He dashed across the street to the flower shop. It felt good to be home. He didn't have to drive around town looking for everyone. People moved in a slower pace here than in the city. Or so it seemed. But maybe it was just that people were more relaxed and things felt more natural. The stress of the city life seemed like a lifetime removed. Connor was determined not to think of work and just be here. Chapter 7. "Hey, I'm back," shouted Connor as he opened the door to the little flower shop, and the bell dinged. Connor made a mental note to ask Marian what the bell was made of. What metal made such an enchanting sound? Marianne came from the back of the store, gesturing for him to follow her. "Here, I'd like to show you my new arrangements. Come on back." "Thank you."